And we are good to go on Muspelheim, our third map of the day, GSTL StarTale versus FXO. And to the bottom right in the red, we have our StarTale player. There's none other.
StarTale Bomber!
StarTale Bomber, very strong Terran player in the team.
Yep. And he's quite famous. I love StarTale. Great drawing there, actually. Oh my god. His opponent, of course, in the blue, our Zerg player, on creep. His ideas.
FXO, lucky!
Very lucky to be on creep, man. If he were not, he could be in trouble.
One thing about Bomber, by the way, is that back when Naniwa had to practice for his match against MVP, and there was also Sound and Hack both had to prepare for their matches and against a Terran player, Bomber was the only one who had to face a Zerg, but he non-stop trained with all three of them. So every single time they had to practice against a Terran player, Bomber was there and would just grind out games with them to make sure that they were really prepared before he started to prepare for his own match against Zerg. And that was really impressive to me, to see that he would actually just invest so much time and help his teammates out. So that was really great.
Yeah, Bomber is, you know, even though he looks kind of like a bully with how he drops mules on people and how aggressive he can be, he is a really nice guy.
That was, by the way, so funny. Naniwal played a couple of show matches, or not show matches, training games against him while I was at the StarTale house. And after one of the games, Bomber suddenly turns around and is like, I'm so sorry, mistake. And we're like, why? What happened? So what he did was he tried to scan in one of the fights, but he hit the wrong hotkey, so he started to drop mules on Naniwa. And then he apologized later on and was like, I didn't try to mana mule you, sorry, I did try to scan. It was my fault. It was really funny.
That sounds like a poor excuse, man. The C key and the E key, they're just not close.
Maybe he uses grid.
Maybe. I guess, yeah, if you use grid, that might be kind of close. I don't know. I don't know grid.
Even if it was just Bomber on autopilot, dropping the mules like, yeah, I've got this. And still it was cool that he apologized after that.
I'm actually thinking about this right now. I'm looking at the grid, like, scanner sweep and call out supply right next to each other would be terrible if you like try to scan a Banshee in your base, you accidentally use call out supply, you like use your energy and like you like have a call out supply you don't need. It's kind of embarrassing too, and then the Banshee's still like cloaked in your base flying around. That would be terrible. I'm sure that's never happened before.
Right there.
That's never happened to anyone, man. Definitely not.
You have that would have been the biggest misclick and miss, not only with the hotkey but also with the mouse now.
It can't be. Well, I mean, like if you try to scan and you like click where the depot is, it could happen, but
nah, I don't think so either.
Bomber is going with his 3 barracks follow-up to this. It's something we've talked about a lot. And for those of you guys who missed the matches where he's shown it, you can really see what we've been talking about over the past few days about this 3 barracks pressure against Zerg, because we're going to watch it unfold right now. It's very strong against someone who goes for a faster third base, and especially someone who delays speed, but that's not what we're seeing. Lucky getting speed pretty quickly again.
Bomber in general just loves his Marines. He really likes to start with Marines and to hit like weird timings. And I remember distinctively a game where he played against Hazops in... I don't exactly remember the tournament. It was one of the bigger ones. It might have been... I don't think it was really ESWC. It's a while back already. But Hazops just... he just looked at me and he talked to me after the game, was like, I don't get it, those timings, they don't make any sense, but it's so strong. It's like, it doesn't make any sense what he plays, but it just works, and it's frustrating to face it. So, this is something that he just does. Sometimes he starts off with 3, 4 to 5 barracks, he goes for a very strong marine attack, he doesn't take gas at all, follows it up with an expansion, and he just hits timings that you are completely not used to, that at first glance don't make any sense at all, where he might attack you without any upgrades, but with just the sheer number that you can't handle. And then when he did his damage and you did not die, but you really took some severe losses, you try to follow it up with an attack and you see that he's in a really very safe position on 2 bases suddenly and way ahead of you in economy. So Bomber, really a player who likes to mix things up a little bit, and that's something that I can really appreciate a player for, if you try to develop your own builds and not just stick with a standard that's out there.
That's what is popular, you know, people who innovate, and I really like to see it. Bomber, one of the first players to do 1 barracks expand in Terran vs. Frost and follow up with a total of 5 barracks, just putting those naked marine pressure on, you know, kind of a strange timing at the time. That kind of stuff is really cool to see. He's getting combat shields now. I think he's going to move out right now and allow the combat shields to finish as he's pushing. That's exactly what we're going to see. There he goes, moving out. And he could rally with this, but he's not going to. This is going to force a lot of units.
But look how great this timing is actually going to work out. Combat Shield is not done just yet and is moving already across the map. So he will be done with Combat Shield roughly at the same time that he's going to reach his opponent's base. And I love it. I really love it. We've seen similar builds in the past where it did not really work out all that well, where the upgrades were already done a little bit before the Terran player arrived in his opponent's base. But right now, even with the Baneling Nest that Lucky is building, he's supply blocked, and those Marines, they will be a problem. That will be a very nice attack.
He doesn't have a Baneling Nest yet. It's just now finishing, but as soon as he saw the barracks, he started that Baneling Nest, but this is going to be a really tough push to hold, especially if he micros his Marines correctly. He's going right for the Queens.
No
the Queens
creep.
are off creep. It's not connected. He will lose one, maybe two.
2 Queens are dead. Now he has to save those Marines. They are surrounded, but they're too many. This is too many Marines. He will lose too many Zerglings. This is not really going as well as Lucky thought it would. He's losing a lot here. He's able to shut it down eventually, or he will be. But this is doing so much.
Yep. And look at the positioning here. He's just going to force the engagement to be cost efficient for him no matter what. Great position on his Marines there. It's not even over. He may get that Queen if he's not careful. Nice pullback there. But a great amount of damage was done. The Queen's now down to 2.
This is so many lava that Lucky had to sacrifice here in order to make this defense work. And this will definitely make sure that the economy of him is very slowly developing. We currently have 48 to 48 Harvesters. A huge win for Bomber here. A great engagement. And this just shows that these timings are something that works so well in his favor.
Yeah. It's very rare that you can trade an entire Terran army so well and lose it, but he did.
The big problem for Lucky was also the supply block with the Overlord that he sent into his opponent's base, and that was taken down immediately. He was not able to get those units out in time. So Lucky here currently spreading the creep as well, but he could see that creep spread was a problem. He lost those Queens because he did not have creep carpet that he could use to bring them back to safety.
Yeah. Right now, we do see Bomber is turtling quite heavily. He knows that the potential for counterattack is there. He's made 3 bunkers, a 4th one finishing right now. He took somewhat of a risk making the 3rd command center and doing this push, because then, you know, it's scary. What if your opponent attacks you while you have very few units and you have that 3rd command center up, you're a little bit vulnerable. These Banelings are actually being morphed in vision of the bunkers. Of course, Lucky can see these bunkers.
Siege mode. Look at that timing.
I'm not sure if this is actually going to, if he's going to follow through with this, because if he does, it's going to be pretty cost inefficient.
If he actually attacks here, he will lose everything without doing any damage at all.
He might not even kill a bunker. Seriously. He's not going to do it. At least not yet. He may wait for a few more Banelings and try for it.
Nah, he's not gonna do it.
He's going back.
That would be suicidal.
It would be crazy.
I like his decision here to not do it. He's losing 2 Banelings because Bomber is moving out with Stim. He's actually also completing +1 attack. Lucky's a little bit ahead in upgrades as he went straight for double evolution chamber and the double upgrades. And he's going to play a similar style to what happened on last map. I really hope that he is following it up with an infestation pit and attack this time, because I don't think that Bomber is going to fall for the same mistakes or for the same attack that Hack did.
No, I don't think he will either. Right now, Bomber's production, by the way, is insane. He's getting +2 weapons, and he's got so many barracks on the way, 3 more. In addition to the barracks, he's already built a 2nd factory going up as well. And honestly, he can start +1 for his tanks at any moment in time. And this production is already, it's just going to be insane. This is a very fast 3rd base to have. His economy is very strong. You know, we mentioned this before, the worker count pretty even, 69 to 77, because of that Marine push early on.
Exactly. He takes the 3rd base also a lot faster than Hack did. Everything just works so well for him because of this early push that made Lucky just slow things down. So Bomber is just in a position where he can safely take his 3rd base. He can go for this tank count that he needs to defend against any kind of huge Baneling attack. And there we have Lucky, by the way, once again with the double Spore Crawler and Spine Crawler, playing it safe here, going for the Mutalisks. But what is kind of his strategy here? Is he going to rely on this mid-game once again, or will he this time go for an Infestation Pit and follow it up with a late-game unit composition?
Yeah, that is the big question. He's sitting 2 Men of Exile right now, 1 to each side, but the problem for him is that his opponent is going Mutas, and that's one thing that you can scout with a drop like this, is that, okay, my opponent is in fact going Mutas, how many has he made, and will he actually be able to defend this? The Mutas are actually, going out to do their normal first pressure attack, so he's going to potentially get lucky with these drops at the timing he's sending them in here. One drop on the right has been spotted, on the left just now being spotted right at this moment, but there's lucky for you having the Spore and the Spine ready immediately.
And the second drop is moving into... let's see how much he's actually able to kill here. He's trying to aim for the Spine Collar right away, but the Ling's line position...
Great time buyer there on that Spine. He transfuses it.
The second one dies as well, as you can see once again. Spine Collar and Spore Crawler in position. It's just the defense of Lucky. That's what we mentioned before we started into the best of 3. He's a player who likes to be very cautious with this, who really likes to make sure that drop play is not going to be an issue later on and is not going to cost him the game.
He very rarely has problems with drops, more than any other Zerg, I would say. 32 Banelings being Morph right now, 2-2 about to finish. We'll put him on an upgrade advantage over his opponent, who's currently at 2-1, +3 on the way. Bomber very carefully inching forward here with his siege tanks in front with a small group of Marines. Does not want to get those caught. Here we go! The tanks trying to do what they can!
Oh, it's 3 of them not sieged up at all, but here's the Marine split, and he's doing a great job moving them back, taking down these Banelings. He has to be careful, and another wave of Marines walks in right away. He's starting to focus on these Mutalists who go back once more, but
he has
it's
too many
much. It's just too much.
Yeah, he has way too much. He's taking out the medevac. He takes a 40 supply lead here, and Bomber may have overextended himself there a little bit. The timing of the attack by Lucky was so smart because he caught the tanks on siege.
Yes.
And from there, I mean, the Banelings just rolled through. If the tanks were sieged, if there was good targeting from Bomber, he would have won that fight easily. But without the tanks, there is no targeting, and the Banelings just get through.
That was the big problem. 2 tanks were sieged up, and 3 of them were just on the move when Lucky moved in. And even though Bomber had a good unit split, it was just too much. The overwhelming amount of units that was streaming towards him and the upgrade advantage that he had, that was just something that he could not compete with. So right now, Bomber has to fall back into this defensive mode. I would actually love to see him to siege up with his tanks, but he's moving out, and oh!
Oh, his tank siege up again, but it was a little bit late. He lost a shot there.
Oh, this is going to get nasty. Marines are streaming from every angle, but I don't think that Lucky has the numbers this time.
There's too many bunkers. The bunkers are still in place from before, and that really helps out. Bomber drops a mule, and I don't think that was an accident. Drops 2 of them, in fact, and they're going to go to mine immediately because the game's not quite over.
Nah, not yet. And we've seen games where Bomber was really a little bit, let's say it how it is, he was too cocky, especially against Marine King. For example, at the last GSTL final, that's one of the matches that comes to mind, where he dropped mules and Marine King ends up winning the game. So Bomber has to be careful. This is the one thing that I really don't like about him. That's the one thing he should work on. He's trying to be too much of a showman sometimes.
Well, this is going to be pretty good for him. He's actually bringing SCVs, and he's going to lose several of them as the Banelings roll in, but a great split here on the Marines, and the SCVs end up tanking enough. I think actually Lucky was probably a little bit baffled. Oh, he was just going to transfer to this base. I was like, there's no way he's actually just trying to be that cocky with his SCVs.
No, he's a great player, but sometimes a little bit too overconfident, and he lost games because of it. If this is something that he works on, that will definitely help him quite a lot. But right now we have him once again with a supply lead. He's going for +3/+3. The third attack upgrade is already done. And this slowly but steadily gives him an advantage over his opponent. So Lucky has to be very careful here. And he is not transitioning. This is exactly what we talked about earlier. This time he's sticking to the composition, and this time the StarTale player seems to be ready. So if Lucky is not making this work, then he has no transition to fall back to.
You're certainly right here. Lucky is committing a lot to this attack. The Marines are already pre-split. And there's a planetary to fall back to as well that's really helping out. And look at this. Look at the supply, 160 to 111. There is no backup plan. 36 Lings on the way, but they're not going to be enough.
Lucky is not looking too happy. At the bottom right, you can see him in the booth, and this situation is something that he's not comfortable with. In the last game, it worked really well against Hack, but right now, Bomber is, because of what he did before in this game, in the position that he has enough siege tanks, enough Marines, he has the units and the split, the micro and unit control to make it work, to defend over and over again. And the upgrades, they come into play right now. With the upgrade lead that he has, these attacks by Lucky are going to be very ineffective. So he has no infestors to fall back onto. There's no hive tech. There's just nothing. He can't even get +3/+3. It's impossible for him.
Yeah, this is one small victory catching this dropship, but I mean, it's not going to be enough to turn the tide of battle. His mules are out of position now for the main fight, which will occur. He can't pick off siege tanks. His Mulus count isn't even high enough. He's going to lose, well,
and he can't transition right now. That's the problem. It's too late already.
Yeah,
A
way
transition-
too late.
And transition at this point would not work. He
It'd
needs to make this work with the units that he has at his disposal.
Trying to make infestors right now would be a death wish. He just doesn't have the gas to support that. You know, yeah, he's got 1,400 gas, but he needs all of it for his Banelings. He needs every larva he can get.
He has the gas, but he doesn't have the time. That's the big problem
Exactly.
that he has. He needs the infestation pit, he needs pathogen glands, he needs the infestors, he needs to start with a hive tech. That's something...
He's got
too
none
late.
of it. Yeah.
He
Banelings
needs
being
to make
taken
it
out
work.
right now as they morph.
With this army, take down a big chunk out of Bomber's army, and then maybe he can start to
This
transition.
counterattack is pretty smart because it's basically one of the only hopes he has, one of his only options left. He's hesitating a little bit here. Now the Banelings roll in. The bunker will go down immediately. He's got a few tanks, but that's not going to be enough to stop this attack, at least not originally, but the attack of Bomber is a big problem.
Bomber is just in the sweet spot now. He's attacking the base. He has to deal with this push, of course, but at the same time, he is attacking every single base of his opponent. And here come more Marines. They really make this happen. The Baileys, they just can't connect as they should. But whoa, Lucky is still able to take down this army. Look at this.
And the way he's fighting here, man, this game is definitely not over.
No, it isn't. The main base is still being assailed. He did not get another siege tank into the main base where he would have needed it.
Yeah.
And suddenly there is no end here.
Now there's nothing. Any of his production facilities are camped. He's only got right now 21 Marines out, and they're on the wrong side of the map.
And as we said, this is the one thing that Lucky can do. If he sticks to this composition and gets a lucky shot, gets in and takes down his opponent's army, he might be able to get back into the game, and that's kind of what happens. He's still hard pressed by Bomber, but he has a shot.
All these tanks in tank mode right now, but they're doing some extra damage to the Banelings.
Nice. Save the Marines at least.
But he will lose his tanks, and that means the next wave of Banelings will be so much of a problem for him.
And he cannot drop the Marines. He has to wait until he can drop all of them at once. Still, we are the third base, a mining base for Bomber. While Lucky, he has no income, or does he? No, his income is really low. The production buildings are a problem, though. The main base is still being attacked. And Lucky with a GG as he realizes that in the end, Bomber is going to win it.
That was a great last stand, though. You know,
Yes.
he really almost pulled things through. Like you said, he had to make it work with the composition he had, and he almost did. A great place to attack. He almost had enough defensive units at home to hold Bomber's push. He forced Bomber to multitask in 2 different locations at once. Greatly done by Lucky, but in the end, Bomber's too much.
Attacking Bomber's main base was really smart, and then he was able to take down the main army to the top left. So Bomber just once again proving his level of skill. Very well done. Lucky played a great game, but in the end, the lair composition did not work. And the tag, it was already too late. What worked well against Tag did not work against Bomber. Lucky with at least 1 win for his team.
Yeah.
But now they have to find someone who has an answer to Bomber, and this is definitely a really, really tough opponent.
Yeah, and you know, who would you send against Bomber? At this moment in time, you've already used Lucky. This is where Oz might have come in handy, but that's no longer a choice. And this is a place where Leonok could be used, but I think it's too soon. I think Gumiho is the choice.
Or you can go for someone like maybe Weekend. Weekend has shown good games. I think he has the potential, and at some point in this team match, I feel you have to trust one of the second.
The second tier. I know what you're saying. I mean,
it's like,
I mean, you can send out the best, for example, here, but against Bomber, is that appropriate? And if you send out Weekend, does he really have the experience to play against a veteran like Bomber in the booth? I don't think so. I think it has to be Gumiho.
It's going to be a tough one in either way. It's going to be a tough battle. As mentioned earlier, Bomber is a really strong opponent, and this is not something that FXO will be comfortable with right now. So, I actually don't know. I don't know what kind of player I would choose here. It's a tough decision, and I don't envy Choya for having to make it.
No. This is going to be something that he's probably sweating a little bit about right now. Bomber looking so dominant already. And like we've said so many times about Bomber, this guy powers up. When he gets on a roll, nobody can stop him.
If you're FXO, you hope that Lucky takes down 2 opponents, that he's able to get you 2 points. Of course, you always have Leonok to fall back onto, but still, Leonok is also a player that has been counted in the past. And here's our FXO bench.
And it is going to be Leonok, in fact, coming out right now, right away. A big heavy hitter.
Look at that. I did not expect Leonok this early. I expect him to be the 4th player, maybe even the 5th.
And yeah, I expected him probably to be the last player, but in the end, he's coming out right away.
Nice.
Map choice.
That is going to be a really great game. Bomber against Zeno, count me in.
Yeah, I'm excited. It's going to be on Whirlwind. Leonok coming out using Whirlwind. Smart map choice. It's going to be tough for Bomber. I'm curious to see what style we're going to see from Leonok. This new, well, that's not new, but this old style that's coming back right now that we're seeing almost everyone use. This Zergling heavy, Zergling Baneling Mutalist style. Maybe something that we see. People are really skimping on the Infestors these days. Leonok's chasing away imaginary flies in the booth. Did you see that? I don't know. Leonok actually, like you said, he's the teddy bear Zerg, but he looks dangerous.
Do you really like the style with the Mutalists? I like the idea, and I like where how Jan sometimes plays it, where he goes for one attack but then falls back onto a normal style when he realizes that he can't work it with a second attack. Well, I'm not such a big fan, but I think we have a break coming up.
Yeah, I'll tell you how I feel.
Talk a little bit about it after the break, guys. This is the GSTL StarTale against FXO, and we are back in 5.